obviously you've played a massive part in what's gone on this week with the suicide awareness that we've been trying to spread out and stuff. How have you found this week?
This week's been really busy. I mean, we've got all our ongoing projects that we need to manage anyway, of which there are loads, and then, running this event as well, we want to make sure everything's right on the day. So it's been quite a lot of preparation involved.
Yeah, just a bit of a background into you, quickly. How did you end up at Curzon originally?
I studied community education at uni, and I was doing gang intervention work in Glasgow, and then ended up managing a couple of community centres and a library in Glasgow, and I've been an avid football fan all my life, and saw the opportunity with FC United of Manchester to be their community and education manager, and thought that would be an ideal route into working and seeing how I could do community outreach work through a football club. I think that football clubs have an obligation to be of benefit to the community, and quite often it's lacking, so I wanted to see how I could put my stamp on that. And then I came down in early 2015, and FC United almost politically imploded when I arrived, and there was a lot of infighting, and it was quite a toxic atmosphere to work in, so I created the role here, and I've been here for a few years now.
Yeah, you've done really well, because you've just taken it to the next level, really, haven't you, with the foundation? Because it's just changed. The name of it slightly changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the advice from the National League and the Premier League and what have you is to have a separate community foundation, so a charitable arm of the football club. It protects all the community outreach work. You've got instances at Gateshead, you've got instances at Bolton Wanderers in particular, where the football club have delved into funds held by the foundation, and so having an autonomous foundation means that you can protect all the grassroots work you want to do. It separates it from the club. It means that there's absolutely zero expense going from the football club, and everything we'll do it's not for profit, it's self-funded. So
yeah, just a brief explanation of what, because you work alongside like other charities that are also like Follow FC, Infinity Initiatives, sort of, what is your aim on a wider spectrum?
My aim is to show that football clubs can be of lasting benefit to the local community. They used to rely on the local community, if we're speaking about larger clubs, and now with the sort of rise in capitalism, in particular in football, it's they've kind of shunned that aspect of it. So my aim is to show that it doesn't matter what size of football club you are, that you can be of benefit to the local community, regardless of where you are.
Yeah, and obviously there's tons of projects that you've been involved in. Other than this one today that's going on, is there any that you're particularly proud of?
I'm particularly proud of what we've done with disability football at Curzon so far. We've created from scratch an under-16s team, we've created from scratch an adults team, both of which compete in an affiliated league with Manchester FA, the Ability Council League, and we're now launching our under-12s pathway for disability or pan-ability football, which means that outside of Manchester City and Manchester United, we're the only team in Greater Manchester to have that recognised pathway, so I think that's something I'm incredibly proud of.
Yeah, and today's it's a bit of a taboo subject, really, because not many, not just football clubs, but in general, people don't speak about suicide because it's a touchy one, isn't it, to say the least.
It's an emotive subject. It's an interesting one, really, because if we were sat here 10 years ago, there would be a massive taboo around mental health, and already we've seen a huge increase of awareness about mental health issues. It's nowhere near this. There's nowhere near the stigma attached to mental health issues now as there was even 10 years ago. People are beginning to reach out to services and get help for mental health issues, and for some reason suicide has remained a really emotive subject for people to speak about. I suppose the idea for today, and using football as a tool for raising awareness of this, is the fact that suicide is the main cause of death for males under 50. It is the highest rate of suicides are between males, again, between the age of 20 and 35, and the demographic of football grounds across the country is males under 50 between 20 and 35. So even if you can help one person, then it's job done, really. And I suppose my aim for today is to encourage other larger football clubs to really take this issue up next year and start to really raise awareness of it. They quite often these days can be quite tokenistic. The thematic calendar has a day, and if every day of the year now is either Refugee Day or Suicide Awareness Day or Sexual Health Day or anything like this. And I feel that this one, if what we're doing isn't quite tokenistic, there's lasting benefits to it, and we should really be pushing.
That is the point. It is job done. If we help one person throughout the whole thing. If one person sees it and makes that call or asks for help, it's we've done our part. But obviously, we've got the special kits today. How did it all come around originally? I know personally, but obviously people listening probably don't know the background into why we're doing this or how the ideas come about.
I'll be entirely honest, if it wasn't for being contacted by our first team manager Mark's sister Sharon, I wouldn't have probably recognised the day, given the fact that the International Suicide Prevention Day was Tuesday the 10th and we never had a match. I'd have probably forgot all about it. Sharon Holt got in touch with us because she sadly lost her son Robert 4 years ago, and she was sat last year around the same time. Cousin were playing an away match, and she was thinking, there's so much that could be done by football clubs to raise awareness of this issue, and so she took it upon herself to contact the club, and we sort of just supported her and her ideas for the day. I don't think, I'm really proud of the football club and the sort of the buy-in from all the directors and from everyone else associated with the club, but realistically this came from one of the members of the community that is close to the football club, and we've just basically tried to support her.
Yeah, and sort of, I suppose it's her way as well of reaching out for help in terms of being able to speak about it on a wider spectrum. But it sounds bad, but there's no better person from it to come to than someone they're living a real life nightmare, aren't they? So
yeah, but I mean, suicide touches a hell of a lot of people, and and once we started speaking about this as a football club, you've got, I can count quickly 3 or 4 directors who have been directly affected by suicide. Members of the public that have came and spoke to us that have been directly affected by suicide. For Sharon, when I was speaking to her on Tuesday before we did the Tameside Radio interview, Sharon was saying that speaking about it daily and visiting Robert's, visiting the cemetery daily is her coping mechanism, but there's members of her family that can't even tell others that he died by suicide. They can quite happily speak about Robert, his life, the fact that he has died, but still can't bring up the reason for his death. And I suppose that that just shows the stigma attached to it and why people should be speaking about it. There's, you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not from here, but in North Lanarkshire in Scotland there's been a 300% increase in suicides in the last 12 months. It's staggering statistics. So it's a subject that's only going to have to get spoke about more, because it's only going to happen more at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's one of those as well. I don't think it picks up enough credit when especially I think for us this week as well. It doesn't get recognised as much as what you'd wish it to be. Not even for the publicity of it, but you want people to recognise the issue of it. And whereas there was something that's gone on this week, I think it's Lewis FC. Pretty sure they've put a gambling warning on the front of their shirts, and it went all the way to the BBC. And don't get me wrong, it's an issue, and people need to speak about that. But effectively, if you bet £100, £20 of all your wages, it then leads to mental health issues and suicide eventually. But the problem is with suicide prevention, if you stop one person from killing themselves, it's a life saved. Whereas some of the other topics that get the exposure isn't. It's an issue, of course, but it's not as, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's not as bad in a sense.
I know what you're trying to say, but I mean, all these sort of issues that can be related to suicide. I actually had a meeting yesterday with, I'm sure his name was Simon. I really want to get that right, but a man from Tameside Council whose job is around prevention on gambling at the moment, and so we will be getting involved in some anti-gambling messages because of the sort of spike in gambling, although that might have changed now with the fixed odds betting terminals being taken reduced in April, but this is actually a government initiative, so the government have allocated money to local authorities to specifically target gambling and problem gambling, but there's still nothing around the suicide prevention, and it is quite staggering. But these things take time. I was going to use gambling as an example actually about when we was comparing mental health stigma from 10 years ago to today. There was massive stigma around drug and alcohol abuse, which isn't quite the case today. Gambling is this hidden form of addiction that no one wants to speak about, so it is almost similar in that sense. There's no, the thing with suicide is there's no rhyme or reason. There could be a huge amount of issues, there could be a huge amount of mental health issues, there could be some unexplainable things that we just don't know about, but the sort of the story goes with the person that commits the act, and so it's about early intervention and showing that the people out there do want to help people, there's organisations that want to help people. Tameside's got a wealth of them. We've got a few coming today. The Anthony Seddon Fund's coming today. Tameside and Glossop Mines coming today. There'll be members of Infinity Initiatives. All of these groups are involved in preventing or then assisting with people in terms of bereavement counselling and stuff. So, you know, there are avenues for people to talk. I think that there's not enough training involved. When, you know, I've done suicide prevention training, and it's quite remarkable that one of the things they say to you is to ask directly, are you thinking of taking your own life? Are you thinking of committing suicide? And ask a direct question. It's a very, very difficult question to ask someone. Yeah. And even after training, I'm not entirely convinced I'd be comfortable doing that, regardless of how low you think someone is feeling at that time. Yeah.
Obviously, like you just mentioned, we've got all these organisations coming to us, so I won't keep you for much longer. But
thank you.
Obviously, we've got today happening. Tomorrow there's a tournament going on. How it is, because I was initially I was sort of drafted into the emails, and then I sort of looked and I was so far behind it, so I didn't really keep up to date. But what exactly is happening tomorrow?
So tomorrow it's organised by Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership, part of the NHS. They wanted to do a month of hope, so from Tuesday the 10th of September, which was International Suicide Prevention Day, to the 10th of October, which is World Mental Health Awareness Day. They wanted to do a month of hope, so a series of events that sort of highlighted the correlation between mental health and suicide, I suppose, as well. They're having a tournament that was going to represent grassroots clubs that were all formed specifically to help people with a range of issues. So Follow FC to help dads grieving for their children that they sadly lost. Infinity Initiatives were Infinity FC, were a team created by a group of local young men who wanted to raise awareness of mental health. SANS FC is a similar organisation to Follow. I'm not quite sure what the differences are, but they're very similar. And then the military veterans teams of both Man City and Curzon Ashton. It's going to be a very small tournament. I think what the idea is that they're going to have a speaker from each team speak about how that football team has helped them deal with any issue what's affecting them. Quite a lot of it will be very, very, very deep and emotional subjects, and then you know, the sort of scope of the NHS means that we've got Andy Burnham coming, the Mayor of Greater Manchester is coming along to present the trophy, and you know, they're expected to be on ITV Granada and what have you as well. So it's going to be quite a high profile event. I'll be honest with you, our input into it is to offer our facilities up for the event free of charge. They can use the pitch, use the function room, because you know, it's a subject that we wanted. It wasn't directly linked to what we're doing today and what we've done the last week, but it's intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. We're finished. Is there anything you want to leave as a message, or anything you want to sort of not promote in a sense? But
no, I mean, I suppose we I probably shouldn't use this right at the end of speaking about suicide, but we'll be auctioning off the strips.
Yeah.
The match worn jerseys from today. All that money that we bring in will get split between the Curzon Ashton Community Foundation and or some local charities that work with preventing suicide. And I suppose I don't have anything else to add to that, really.
Yeah, but I might catch up with you for a longer chat eventually. But today's and it's an important day for you as well. Obviously, you're doing massive parts here, but everyone else appreciates what you're doing. But thank you very much.
Anyway.